Is he in trouble if he loses twice in the space of 3 days? Serious trouble?
I mean, I don't think in terms of getting sacked now, I don't think that's going to happen. But, you know, it certainly could foreshadow a change in the summer. You have to remember that, you know, Real Madrid, I'm going off the top of my head, but, you know, they only won the league once under Zidane. I think if memory serves, they've won it, what, like twice in the last 6, 7 years, something like that. They generally haven't bested Barcelona domestically, and that's kind of been the normal run of affairs. They've obviously done it in the Champions League. Certainly Florentino, I don't think, feels that the personnel is that much worse than last year. It's the same midfield as last year. The defense arguably is better, certainly defensively with Reguilon in there, and Courtois, you know, been seen as an upgrade over Keylor Navas when Courtois plays. And now you have Vinicius. And of course, you lost Cristiano at the other end, but people were supposed to step up. So I think Solari's made the unpopular choices. And now Florentino is stepping back and saying, okay, so I gave you license to make those unpopular choices. I'm not forcing you to play Isco or Bale or Asensio, but you got to deliver at the other end. And if you can't make it work without those guys, I'll find somebody else who'll give it a go.
Finally, boys, in this studio here, prediction time. Are Barca going to silence the Bernabeu again?
Barca win.
Yeah.
Barca win.
Yeah?
2-2.
2-2. Okay. The voice of dissent. All the attention, of course, on Maurizio Sarri at the moment and his decision coming up this weekend. Does he go back to Kepa in goal, do you think?
I expect he will, Adrian, but then take this with a grain of salt because I expected him to play Kepa on Wednesday as well. There's no question which of the two is the better goalkeeper. Even though it took him 3 attempts, Kepa did eventually issue an apology. He got sat down for a game which, you know, let's face it, if Chelsea lose that game and the fans turn on Sarri the way they did with their performance against United, it would have been Sarri's last game, quite possibly. So I think hopefully that message gets to Kepa that, you know, this guy was willing to kind of sacrifice his chance at keeping his job because he wanted to send the message that, you know, he's not going to deal with insubordination. Hopefully this matter, from Chelsea's perspective, this matter really is passed, and Kepa will be in there for the short trip up the Fulham Road to Fulham.
It is a short trip, but nothing is normal at Chelsea, Craig.
Well, it should be passed. This saga, and it was a short saga, should be passed, and it was dealt with quite shambolically, to be quite frank. The PR there was not good. However, I'm like Gab. I don't know if he's going to play or not. I don't know. I mean, I kind of sensed that. I thought Kepa would be dropped, and he was. And I think maybe Caballero, because of the opponents, might get another game because Fulham are struggling. But who knows? But you just get the feeling at the moment that every game at the moment could be the last for Sarri. We just don't know because, you know, you get the good result against Tottenham, very good result against Tottenham. Now you go to Fulham at Craven Cottage, you're absolutely expected to go there and win because of their trials and tribulations. And in some sense, the pressure is back on again. I mean, it's just not going to go away at the moment for Sarri because Arsenal are getting results, because United continue to get results, and because Chelsea are still sitting 6. And for Abramovich, that's a problem.
You've been in a manager, Stevie. You've been in this position, having to choose between 2 keepers. What would you do? I mean,
play the best goalkeeper.
Yeah,
he should have played the other night as well. Absolute nonsense the fact he didn't play. I think Sarri's gotten away with it because he gets a win. But if he decides to play Caballero again at the weekend, and Caballero makes a mistake, which he has in him all the time, then basically what he's doing is he's putting himself before the team. At the end of the day, your job as a coach is to win games for your owners, for your supporters, and for your players. And you put the best team on the field to win. Yeah. And if he doesn't do that, then again, he's gambling, because I thought he gambled the other night, but he got away with it. If ever a derby was on paper as one-sided, this is it. I mean, Everton at home have been absolutely disastrous. They've got 1 win in the last 7 home games in the Premier League. So Liverpool are never going to be in a better position to go and make a statement in a derby.
Yeah, you sense Klopp was bristling after the criticism they'd received from the draws against Bayern and Man United, and you came out and said this is how football should look.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could be overcritical in a game against Bayern Munich when they came to sit in and did a job. But the United game in particular, because United guys were dropping like flies. We keep repeating ourselves here, but the injuries were horrendous. There was subs coming on and going off, and there was lots of possession from Liverpool, but there was no real cutting edge in the final third. Now with Alexander-Arnold coming back in and Robertson playing at the weekend again. In midweek against Watford, they had better delivery from the wider areas, and that's where Liverpool had a lot of the good play. I'm like Stevie. I think it's another great opportunity for them to go to Goodison here and get the 3 points.
It's 2 defeats in a row, and I wonder, since we love jumping from crisis club to crisis club, right? We had it with United, we had it with Arsenal, and it was Chelsea's turn. And should they screw up at home, then we'll all start asking questions about Pochettino and whatever, and is he all he's cracked up to be, and why would United ever even consider him? I do think Pochettino bears some responsibility in this. Obviously Dyer's got I think his illness issues now, or tonsillitis or whatever, but there was a stage where he came back and he persevered with Winks and Sissoko, who are fine, but it's just a lot of players playing a lot of minutes who really aren't used to it. A lot of that is forced. Not all of it is forced. And I think they're showing signs of fatigue. But that said, I mean, Arsenal are a really, really hit or miss team right now. So, it only takes a win to go back to 7-point lead over Arsenal. And, everything is stable, I think, in North London again.
But there have been more hits than misses for Arsenal. They've won 5 of their last 6. Are you believing at all?
Well, it depends.
Maybe that's too strong. I'm asking Craig.
It depends what you're asking me.
He believes in something.
Quick predictions. Can they go to Wembley and win, Arsenal, or is that beyond them?
Well, they can. But as Gab said, Messi changed the shape, and I don't know what we're going to get from Tottenham. Arsenal could go a point behind them.
Yeah.
So,
Arsenal could, but they're not going to.
Not going to? Spurs to win and get...
Spurs to win.
That Thursday edition of ESPN FC Extra Time, a little extra Thursday for you, Craig. You're not normally here on a Thursday.
No.
Well, because he knows you're here.
I've never put 2 and 2 together there and come up with that answer.
What were you?
It's not you.
2 and 2
I can't believe you do that to
you. Brian McBride is here. Gab Marcotti is...
And by the way, I'll not be back on a Thursday either.
There you go. See?
Slim pickings a day.
There's a May already penciled in.
We've even talked about Fulham today.
We will get to Fulham.
Hey.
We will get to Fulham. Before we get to Fulham, Lumsey wants to start us off with something that Julien Laurent was touching on. Jules said he's texting buddies with Hugo Lloris. Which of the present crop of players are texting buddies with the guys on the couch? Not that we have a couch.
I'll tell you,
anymore.
None. Zero. Since I've stopped playing and went into this job back in England, don't text managers, don't text players, don't interact with any coaches, any of them. But no interest. I'll tell you why. Because, and I see it all the time here in America and in the UK, to be fair, is people that do my job hanging about tunnels and football clubs, hugging, shaking hands and patting backs and kissing backsides of managers and coaches and players, and then go up to the commentary booth and are unable to do their job properly because they've compromised themselves. So then when mistakes happen, they give a half-hearted analysis because they don't want to upset the mate that's already down there. So that's only my perspective.
Right.
None. There's a wall here, I'm on this side, and they're on that side. Am I being harsh?
Not at all. No, you can't.
Because if I was down when you were coaching, going, hey, Stevie, how do you-" and then I was upstairs and going, oh, he's making mistakes.
Yeah.
How can you do that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Brian, you have the same perspective? I mean, is it different for ex-players and just true journalists? I imagine it is, but...
Oh, he's an ex-player. They're both ex-players.
Well, I know, but so...
No, I think...
Jules is the journalist.
I think what it matters to me is when you give your opinion, it's of an opinion of seeing the whole story. And if the person, whether he's your friend or he's not, if the person doesn't understand that you're giving your opinion on how you might have handled the situation, then I don't think they're necessarily going to think you of as a friend anyways.
No, by the way, that's different for Jules and journalists because they have to have, they've got stories.
Well, yeah, I mean...
When I was at the Revs,
They have contact.
if anybody was printing anything in the paper that was criticising me, I'll tell you the first thing I did was I went straight up to them, stuck my finger right in their face.
Yeah.
And they certainly weren't, and I don't care who they were.
Yeah, but my point to that would be, I'd stand my ground and say, listen, it's my opinion. You don't like it, I understand.
It's
if
impossible.
you don't want to be friends anymore, that's cool.
Craig summed it up. It's impossible to have a friendship with somebody if you're a friend of somebody who in a position is going to have to criticise you to do the job properly. Because there's no way, as a coach, everybody says coaches are paranoid. Well, you are paranoid. Because everybody's trying to tell you what to do.
It's part of life.
And give you stick.
Every time you've gone through a period of your life, if you've gone through a period of your life where you haven't had somebody critiquing you or telling you you've done something wrong or saying you've done something right, then I don't know who's lived.
On the TV or in the newspapers or...
Then you might not respect that person, but you still have to be able to take that on board. Yes, you can.
But Brian, commentating particularly in England and the Premier League for years and in Scottish football is you compromise yourself by integrating with these people. You do. You might not think you do, but you do, because subconsciously when things happen and big calls and managers get into fights and they have a run of bad results, subconsciously you will probably give them an easier time. Now, that to me is detrimental to being able to do your job properly. Now, when they say, oh, well, we go and see the coaches because we learn things. No, you don't. That's just muppets on social media that believe that, because they only tell you. Steve Nicol isn't going to tell me and you everything that's going to happen.
Not a chance.
Oh, we're going to work on that free kick. Oh, we're going to work on that. And I just see it too often now. It's too much backslapping between pundits and members of football teams and coaches, and some of them are even close to having ambassadorial roles. They're nothing short, some of them, of these pundits have been ambassadors for clubs, yet they're taking the buck from TV companies to give an opinion. That's just not me.
You could hear Gab chuckling in the background. You haven't weighed in on this, Gab. I imagine your perspective is rather different.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sort of in between giving opinions and obviously reporting what you know. You have to be able to speak to people. The more intelligent ones understand that when you reach out to them, they don't have to write back, and that that they trust you if they do, and you're not going to hang them out to dry. Equally, the more intelligent ones understand that you're doing your job, and if they need to, and if you need to criticize them, that's the thing. I never played with any of these people, and surprisingly, I don't think while they were playing, there was maybe count on one hand the people who I would consider friends. Beyond that, they're people professionally, and really more so than players. At least in my case, it's club officials, it's agents, members of coaching staff, managers. They sometimes know that they benefit from answering your questions. And the questions you ask, you're not asking for inside information, but you're asking, well, what is the mindset here? What are you trying to do? What does person X, I won't say who it is, at Arsenal, but he may well be Spanish, think about Ozil? What does he think Ozil's problem is? And then you don't go and quote the guy and say, Ozil isn't playing for this, and that reason, but you get a kind of a better sense of why that might be the case, and might have something to do with Ozil's wages and the fact that he's difficult to move.
There's ways to go about it, but basically at the end of the day, there comes a time when you've got to criticise somebody. And if you're his friend, then you're not going to do it properly.
I totally disagree with you.
The Gab's coming from
you can definitely criticize your friend. For sure you can. What you don't need to do is make it into a soundbite. You don't need to come off with some crazy wordage that is going to get headlines.
In an ideal world, in an ideal world, what you're saying is right.
Yes.
In an ideal world. Unfortunately, that is absolutely not where we live. You can say anything. Some guy in the newspaper will splash it in some certain way all over the place.
I'm not disagreeing with you. So what I'm saying is, you and the person that it's, myself and the person that it's involved with, I can then have a conversation and explain to them, this is why I had that. And if they go, well, you know what, I don't want to hear it,
No, but it's
we're
not,
probably never friends again.
But it's not.
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't stop.
It's not just. It doesn't have to be somebody that you know well. It might have been somebody you played against or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're in the tunnel before a game, and you know, you're talking to this guy, and then you're up there and you have to criticise him. Trust me.
I'm not saying you don't talk to people
subconsciously
game time, around
you
game
think
time.
you're not you think you're not doing your job properly, but you are kind of holding back a little bit. I went into this job in my early 30s because I finished early, and a lot of the guys that I was commentating on I'd played against because they were still playing. Some of them I'd played with. Managers I'd played against or worked for were still managing. But I had to distance myself. I did. I just you know, I'm not saying that this is the only way to do it, but I cut myself off and I said, I'm in this side of the fence.
I totally get it. I understand.
My uncle was the manager of Scotland
Yep.
when I was covering the Scottish national team for the company I was working for at the time. And I had to go in, I had to forget about him as my dad's brother because Scotland were having a bad time. And I had to go full in. My point is, there's too many people not prepared to go fully in when they're getting paid to do so because they have an interest within the whole scenario.
Well,
Gab's situation is different because a journalist...
I
totally agree.
Go on, Gab.
But I think, Craig, on the back of that,
Yeah.
it can work even more so with journalists because, you know, you play with these guys, you have a relationship before. In some ways, you can take a stand, and hopefully, if they're intelligent, they'll understand why you do that. But I have a very good friend of mine, a very good colleague who was very close to a manager who won't say his name, but you can probably figure it out, who did extremely well in the 2005-06 season. And when it came to vote for the manager of the year for a major prize, this guy didn't vote for him, even though at that time they were speaking on the phone, you know, once a week. He voted for Marcello Lippi because Lippi won the World Cup. And that guy and his agent sat him down and said, look, you're either with us or you're against us. This award is important. And we feel really disappointed that you didn't vote for us or you didn't vote for him. You know, so this kind of stuff happens. And from a journalist perspective, it can often be even tougher because, you know, this colleague of mine is an important journalist, but he's got a great career. But, you know, he wasn't an international footballer like you guys were. You know, he doesn't have all your vast riches in the bank. So you have to make that call. And it is a question of integrity, I think, as Brian said before.
We should move on, should we? We could go on a long time with that.
Well, it is because sorry, I'm to go off again, but I see it too often. Yeah. I see it too often where pundits are aligning themselves to clubs and players because they think they're going to get. How many great interviews do we get by anybody being friends with a current player or a former player? Most of them come on are corpses from the ankles up.